I'm on the audit committee.
Robin Stevenson with Economic Development.
Lyle Eaton.
Amy Sampson.
Joy Newford.
John Condino on the board.
I'm Lori Podvin, the partner of ours.
Lindsay Hill, the audit manager.
Marshall Ware.
Bill Johnson.
Very good.
Very good.
So we're here to engage Bowers and Company 2023 audits of the JCLDC. And I'll turn the floor over to you.
All right, so we'll just go through the usual pre-audit questions and kind of just a conversation. If you guys have any concerns about anything during the year, internal control items or things you would like us to look at, please share those. But I'll turn it over to Lindy and she can go over the normal questions that we start off with.
Yep. So welcome. We have the formal engagement letters here that we'll leave for signatures and things like that. But as Lori mentioned, if there's anything out of the ordinary, things that we should be aware of before we get into things, legal issues, obviously, if there's any unusual or insignificant loan activity coming through with the LDC in the current year, things that we should be aware of outside of what we see reading the minutes and things like that. There was not any written management letter comment last year from the audit, but obviously a lot going on with the change in year-end lease adoption with the standard and things. So hopefully it should be a little bit more smooth sailing this year with the 12-month period. For the LDC, there will be a new standard this year for CECL in terms of credit allowance for your receivables. So we'll go through that process. And it might be more a recommendation on making sure there's appropriate language and things in your allowance and policies more so than anything, based on last year's financials not actually having allowance over your loans because you felt they were collectible. But that will be the main item.
Could you explain what CECL is for the board?
Yep. So it's the new standard on credit loss expectations. So basically covering any receivables that you have, your allowance and what you don't expect to collect previously. You kind of base that off historical experience. The biggest change really is now you have to include a factor on forward-looking forecasts and things like that, not just historical losses. So again, making sure that you don't actually have an allowance as established as of last year, but making sure that the policy includes the required language and things with the standard, and then part of it too, you're not just looking at historical losses, but future expectations a little bit more. So
Expectations or potentials. I mean, we have to determine whether we have a bad loan out there. We expect one to go bad or just.
Yeah, just even the nature of the economy. So as interest rates go up, borrowing's more expensive, businesses are in danger. So it might be more of a specific identification, but you got to kind of take what the current economic conditions are, build that into your policy. It might not change the allowance at all, but you have to consider that, and it has to be more of the language has to be incorporated.
So staff will be doing that?
Well, it's up to the policy of your allowance policy, which should start with staff.
We look forward now and review the loans we have. The historical calculation just isn't adequate right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we do what you are telling me, we need to have it written down.
Yeah, you should have how you.
So more about adding a narrative
Exactly.
qualitative. I mean, it's not.
Well, the elements that are going to be required to go into the review will be part of the policy.
Right.
And then it's basically what we do now, but it's just not written down.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Good to have you back, Larry.
Thank you.
Andrew will be doing the right of use entry for us again.
No, Andrew will not. Lindy and our team will be. So you got a whole new team, which is what you're supposed to have. So we will take care of all the lease stuff.
Yeah, okay, very good.
Yeah, so now it's just kind of like, is there any lawsuits out there, any concerns, any major changes, any issues with any of the contracts? You are under a single audit for both because of the past few ARPA dollars. So we'll have the single audit, so there'll be additional testing on that.
You said we have a whole new team as we're supposed to. Does that have to change by rules? Your rules?
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years.
Lori has to change.
A different partner.
Yes.
Different
Okay.
partner.
So it's supposed to be a fresh eye, more independence, even though I don't agree with that, but however, that is under the public authorities law, so we do. So Liz was your partner for 5 years. I've done it years before, and so She'll be out, I'll be in, Lindy, just as, Andrew's no longer with us, so Lindy's a manager on the audit side, so, you got a good team this year, so. I don't see any hiccups, we're very familiar with all the organizations.
Well, that makes it easy on us.
Yes.
Any other questions? So we need to have a formal motion to send this forward.
Oh, he's letting you know.
Lindy, did you have anything else? I sort of interrupted you there.
No, that, I mean, the Cecil thing is gonna be our biggest discussion point, so.
Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to send the engagement letter forward for full board consideration.
So moved.
I guess I'll second it since I'm the other one here.
I can second it.
Oh, right.
Hey, Rob, you made it.
Marshall wouldn't let me in.
Sorry about that. I was listening and the Lord is saying.
Rob, since you just came in, do you have any questions?
No, this is pretty standard. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor on moving it forward to the full board? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll close the JCLDC Audit Committee meeting and we'll move to the JCIDA Audit Committee meeting. Be my guest.
Pretty much the same thing. So does any lawsuits, commitments, issues, internal control weaknesses, anything you want to share that you feel is a weakness within the organization, anything that we want to look at or that we feel is an audit concern, please share.
Any other questions? It's pretty much the same thing with Cecil and all that.
Nope, Cecil is only on the for-profit or not-for-profit. So FASBs are for LDC, GASB, government accounting standards are under the IDA. So two different standards, but the lease standard is, yes, I know, the lease standard is for this one. So we'll be looking at lease. There is a new lease standard for technology, like software. We don't think it's going to be applicable. It hasn't really been applicable for any of our clients so far, but we'll look at that. But I don't see any major changes from an accounting standard perspective.
Any questions?
You will have someone pick the accounts receivable you want to verify. We'll get you, contact Joy and she'll supply you with a listing.
Yep.
Other than that,
Yeah, I usually send letters.
whatever you need
Yes,
in
they-
advance.
yes,
just let us
confirm
know.
letters, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else from staff or members? A motion to send an engagement letter for the audit for Bowers and Company to the full board.
So moved.
Rob,
I'll make a second.
second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And
And we would be
Can you
done.
just go over the fees? Are the fees outlined in there?
Yep.
Just so I can have them for the minutes.
For the LDC, it's 7,000 for the audit, 3,000 for the single audit, and 1,000 for the tax return.
Okay.
And for IDA, 12,500 for the audit, 4,800 for the single audit, and 1,000 for the tax return.
And this includes
They're
the
listed.
civic facilities as well.
Yes, yep, and they're listed in the engagement letters here too.
Motion to adjourn.
First.
Making you busy.
I'll
Rob,
second it.
all in favor, aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Larry and Lindy.
Took me longer to log in than it did to attend the meeting.
Chris and I are efficient, Rob.
You are. Have a good day.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks, lady.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone.
You too, Merry Christmas.
Oh, yeah, it's here. I think it's,
What's gonna happen?
yeah.
We gotta wait for everybody for the next meeting.
So what's roughly now our yearly cost for our audits
I thought I was pushing it at 15
from that
minutes.
quote is going to be how much?
20,000, close to.
Yeah, well, you said a medical appointment.
God, that's shocking.
More than that.
Well,
Where do you come up with it?
It was
17,
As you said,
17 and 11.
Yeah.
For both.
Goes up.
28, closer to 30.
28?
Wow. I mean, 5 years ago, we weren't spending that kind of money for audits 5 years ago.
no. It goes up every year. And now with a single audit, that's additional work. So that's another 4,800 on the IDA.
When that money's all expended, there's just one, once we're no longer receiving it, I assume we have one audit after it's all gone and then we don't have to do it again?
Then it won't be a single audit. It's based upon the money dispersed.
And the only
Let's
reason.
get rid of it all.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we did, we got rid of, in its expenditures, am I saying it right? And it's the why that's making us do the single audit this year. Because we did not expend any
I think the
ARPA funds.
Well,
No.
but I think there's a requirement for a single audit in there. In the,
It could be,
yeah.
There was a
But there were no
requirement. The ARPA
expenditures.
was a requirement, yeah.
Yeah.
The county has a requirement, so we have a separate.
we have to do
Yeah.
it. But the only expenditures were in the why.
And we'll have it again.
And that's
next-
done.
Yeah, next year, all the ARPA funds have to be spent by the end of the year, so next year will be another year. But
So on Cecil, you're fully aware of the new requirements? on
It's
it?
first I've heard of it.
I know,
That's what I was
same.
afraid of.
I
was like, I don't
She
even know how
just
to spell
breezed right
that.
through Cecil,
Yeah.
and that's why I
Yeah.
asked for an explanation. We've been working on it
Thank
for 2 years.
Really, yeah.
So, I mean, it is very involved. So you
Yeah.
can Google it and learn more.
So you said CECL.
Mhm.
Oh, I was gonna see.
Current-
I had no clue. Like,
It's current expected credit losses.
Okay, interesting.
So the allowance goes away. The old way that we used to deal with historical losses, that's no longer. And we're looking forward, and that's been the debate and the complaint is that how are we supposed to project going forward? But like she said, you have to take all these qualitative factors into consideration, the economy and just all sorts of what's going on. So
How do we?
assuming we
So
really
is
don't.
this gonna replace our bad debt?
Convolve
It's gonna be the same
how
thing.
we
You're still gonna
will
have
deal
that
with it.
line item, but how you arrive at it.
And
Okay.
that's pretty
It's a
much
fairly
what you do,
complex
though.
That's-
You're looking
that's
at
what
all
we
the
do.
ones that we had.
And
Where's Woodard
What do you-
One of the
District 8
concerns I
Hounsfield? I see.
What's that?
Where's District 8 Hounsfield?
Lisa, with the-
Are you doing that for?
Yeah.
That,
It's basically an extension, I think, of District 7. It also goes down to, it brings it, it loops it down Old Rome State Road.
Once a year, or is it like on a rolling basis?
We do
Is that where you go with that money? Or is it-
We still have to go to RD, but
So
now
we
that
start
we've
to
got the
report
WIA,
it different to the board instead of
RD
once a
comes
year
in
type of thing? I mean, we do the monthlies
after that.
and stuff
So
like that.
there's still a
Different
process,
thing.
but
Okay.
I think it's pretty well assured.
Yeah.
It's gotta be written, you don't have it written in,
Right.
so okay, so I see, even
Well,
though you're doing.
yeah.
Is that mostly federal funds? Gonna
You look
allow that to
for this
happen?
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
isn't fully done down, taking into consideration.
That
any
land's all been
factors
cleared
that
out
are-
there.
Where's this?
Out on 3,
Right.
out of Arsenal past.
On the same side of Bosse's?
Well, we don't really
Past
remember what we
Bosse's?
used to, so-
National Overseas, but before
Well, the
the.
LDC. I believe so. I run by there the other day and it's very big. huge area just
And
cleared.
it's only applicable to the.
Isn't that where the sports complex is supposed to
Oh,
go?
that's right, she did say it, only
Only
LDC.
the LDC.
Yeah, but they're not, they haven't, yeah.
Are you still, they're doing,
So each
you're either
home,
putting water or sewer in.
each year, well, you guys do it as.
They got
boards.
manholes,
Yeah.
but they got manholes,
So Joe
concrete
Schmo
manholes.
had a
And I'm
10,000
going,
foot moat.
I still don't understand, they paid for those all the way back into where you
Oh,
cut
okay,
over
you
the
look
water
at-
tower and how.
The overall.
NAICS
They're
code.
gonna destroy that
Oh,
road
okay,
during
yep.
construction,
We just
why
have a
would
number
you
of
pay
factors
for
that
road
we're
only
looking
to
at.
destroy it?
There's
Should
no
trade
way.
there
No way,
somewhere.
you don't let go,
No.
right,
You guys
right,
can.
right, yeah.
I don't-
yeah.
I drive that road every day, I just don't.
And look at it, so Joe Schmo had paid off half of it, but what going forward, oh, well, next year they're talking of lowering interest rates, so it might help the economy. So we can expect that these two,
And from this point forward, rates are steady and they're expected to start to decline
Yes.
next year.
next
So
year, yep.
we're hopefully
So
over
the
the hump.
stock market went up.
Yeah.
Yay, my portfolio.
Exactly.
The biggest gain in, I don't know how long.
It all depends what sector it is, though.
True. Is your sister Stone?
What?
Was she part of that accident?
No. My sister's, she lives in Elbridge. She's in upstate right now.
So there's Bosse's. Whereabout is it?
Maybe it's back towards.
Something fishy there.
Wick.
Something fishy there.
This would be
She's
core.
still in critical, and
She's been upgraded to
That would
stable.
be,
he's in critical.
Those couple
It's
of crashing
just-
into one another.
Yeah, I heard that on the radio.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
I'll look. I'm
I
gonna,
was sitting and getting my teeth cleaned yesterday, and they have a little TV right there. And she was like, "Did you hear about that?" I'm like, "No, what? I could hear it. I couldn't see the TV." But
Husband and wife, this it's fishy. Yeah.
Dave, were you, is either personnel or governance to handle the paid sick leave? Were you gonna roll that out today for
Yeah, we
consideration?
raised it. Yeah, the other thing we could do too, if, I was gonna suggest to you, I was just at a meeting, we had a meeting with the trust, I was talking to Dawn Cole, she's on the United Way, and they work with a guy, for $390. He'll do a review of your employee handbook, which I think might be worth doing just because of some changes since we last did it. It was, he's an HR specialist, and then he'll come back to you and say, okay, here's what you need to do. Either we can do the changes or he'll give us a quote if he wants us to, if we want him to write a certain portion. But I think that might be worth doing. Just have that evaluation done.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've added it since they're the whole, that's harassment training and policy.
But were you advocating to upgrade the paid sick leave
Yes,
going into
yeah.
the year?
Yeah, right. Those that weren't on that email, I noted, I sent it out to the governance and personnel committee. And I'm not sure where it really would fall under to discuss, debate, but that our current sick leave just allows for 7 days, begin to get each year, which seems kind of on the low side. And like the county, for example, they get, I think it's 4.5 per pay period. So it works out like 2 weeks for the year, which with just 7 days, get somebody more, it could be gone with one.
Well, we should, but going into the new year, we might just as well have it action on it in
Sure,
January.
Yeah. If you're in agreement with it.
Sure. Well, we'll talk about it.
Do we know?
But here again,
It's one of those benefits that it doesn't cost anything.
right,
Because when someone's sick, it's not as if we hired someone to come in and
right.
fill their position. So.
And we don't want them here if they're sick.
But maybe if we're thinking about procuring that service to upgrade the handbook, maybe would that be a recommendation coming out of that separately? Or-
You could, or like you said, if you want to do it, we can either address it later in the year after the review's done, or if you want to do something, I guess it's your preference. If you want to just do it at the beginning of the year and act it, you can
Might
change
better
that
do
part of the
that.
policy manual, but then have them do a whole review. We can always change it later. if we
Yeah.
need to, but-
Might better do that because time you
That's 3 years ago.
take action to hire the guy and the time he does it, it'll be into February.
I mean, for a lot of us that have been here a while, we have enough crew, but if people have had sicknesses or.
Or kids.
I have
Well,
3
well,
kids.
but I
I
was
have
just-
no
well,
time.
that was my note too. If somebody has maternity leave or, people with kids, if I was younger, I'd be needing more sick leave because Barb and I would have been trading time off like we used to for, taking care of kids. I would've been through that, so.
Private industries all over the board. I mean, I don't know how much Barton and Judas provides, but we get 8 sick days, and then PTO.
It's interesting, they changed their policy, I don't know, it's 2-3 years ago. It's just PTO, personal time off.
A lot of people-
It's all combined.
Yeah.
And, you get so many days a year, depending on your
Use them for whatever you
longevity,
want.
and use them for whatever you want. So we don't earn any additional sick time.
Is it use it or lose it?
We have a policy actually adopted a few years back because there were some longtime employees that had not used their vacations and became a liability. Speaking of audits. So now, you can't carry over any more than you would normally earn a year, you know, in the year. So if you get to the end of the year, you get paid for the time. You can either take it or you get paid for it, the
Oh,
extra
that's
time.
good.
Yeah, so you don't lose it,
That's what the commissioner doesn't.
but you can only carry over what you would normally earn in a year.
You can't carry anything.
No.
County allows you to bill it
Use it.
200 days of sick time.
Right.
That's right, that's what it's for.
Well,
Jason,
yeah.
Downtime.
JCC, you carried over 180 sick days, but you capped off of 180. You accrued 20 days a year. But vacation, because they ran the same thing. Because at JCC, you don't get your sick time when you leave. But vacation, a lot of people are doing that, and they had tons of vacation, and then they leave, and there's a liability, had to pay for it. So they only can carry over 20 days, and if you don't, you lose it if you don't
Yeah.
carry or use it.
Yeah,
Well,
we can only carry-
And again, we get paid for it.
Yeah, we can only
Yeah,
carry
yeah,
it
but-
for 5 days.
You can
Yeah,
only carry over.
we wouldn't get paid for it. So I was one of those ones that
You're
had
too
a
generous.
ton of vacation time. So I was always carrying over 20 days, and I had 26 days vacation. I'm like, oh my God, in summer, I'm like, oh, I haven't used my vacation. I gotta figure out how to use it
Just
or I
the
lose it.
longevity.
I wouldn't get paid for it. So.
Do I get retroactive longevity now that you've changed that?
Did you think?
We
Kathy's
lowered
good?
it, you know.
No, 5 years.
Double check.
The problem is, you have to do that now to retain.
Peggy's
people in
going to check
today's
right now.
environment. But when things get better, it's gonna be there forever now.
You see, Love's is open.
Yeah.
Yeah, busy.
I went in there last night, come up 81 to Bradley Street. The line to going to Love's, it was not only on the off ramp, but the line going towards Love, it was long, past the Bradley Street. They need definitely lights in there, just like the Home Depot and Coffee Street.
I think it'll end up, once they do their new traffic studies, we'll see that.
Well, they've already done a traffic study.
I know, but I don't think it was the right one, do you?
You don't think they'll put lights in there?
DOT at this point anyway, doesn't have any plans, but we'll see how it comes out.
Yeah.
We highly question it as when we're reviewing the project for the town,
After they have their dozen or so
but
collisions. you
I
know,
mean, I
going out.
remember saying, I come off that exit a lot going south. And sometimes it's very difficult, just in the normal traffic, to make a left turn,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Be there 5 minutes.
It was
10
highly
minutes.
questioned, but, DOT said, no, the study doesn't warrant it. Okay.
But when you sit there and wait for 5 minutes, I'm coming from the river into town, that's always the case. And you've got a deadline, you've got to be at a meeting.
Yeah.
That's when you start taking chances,
Yeah.
It's like, I think I got enough time, we're gonna cut the dice here,
Mhm.
and people do that, and that's. when
I've
you
never
get
done that.
Slam.
Never, not one time.
Well, you start thinking about all the tractor trailers rolling off 81
Yeah.
that want to make a left-hand turn to go to Love's. Either,
And it, even in the early meetings with these guys, the revenue projections that they were coming up with were almost unbelievable. But with the stores they've already opened in New York, I mean, you see them in it, they produce a tremendous amount of revenue, which I mean, a tremendous amount of sales tax, by the way.
Yeah, which
But
is a noteworthy point.
Yeah, but just the traffic, I just don't understand how they're not gonna.
Put lights in there.
Yeah.
Wasn't
I
the
was-
turn lane like a last minute deal? Shouldn't that have been done long before?
No, actually, that was one of the original requirements, but it took forever. That's why it's been delayed to, they had to establish what the right of way was gonna be, and then Love's had to turn some of the land over to the state, which got everybody, DOS all involved. It just it wasn't pretty.
And they did a very poor job in that lane too.
Oh my God, it's awful. 2 lanes, when you go over that lane, I can't believe that's gonna be the final pavement.
I hope not.
I can't believe they're gonna accept that. Well, then the one that they put in 2-3 years ago, going into Caprars there
Yep.
for sales,
Or personal.
Same thing.
That one is the same thing. They actually made them come back and do some remedial work, but I still don't believe that they've actually accepted that.
Yeah.
But yeah, turning lane's got to be temporary at this point.
Yeah.
Luckily, we didn't have anything to do with that.
Kent is almost here, but he does have to leave by 9:30, and maybe Dave will be here soon too.
But still, the definition of an economic engine,
Oh, yeah.
that is probably the most significant economic engine and development that this county's had, in the sense that it's taking outside money and stopping it here.
Well, I've always wondered too, I mean, for years about why, with long ways being gone, why coming out of Canada, we didn't have something like that here for the trucks.
You do know.
On the news they mentioned too, we're so close to Canada and they're really pushing that and they'll get the traffic, the 18-wheeler traffic, because the closest Love's
Yeah,
is
that's what I'm just
Binghamton
thinking.
and the trucks like Love's. It's just something that they go to.
It is. There's 600 and like just under 700 Love's stores now. I believe they've got at least a dozen under construction
Really?
around the country. I mean, when we got involved with them 3 or 4 years ago, they were a $20 billion a year business and growing.
Mm-hmm.
It's still owned by the family.
Yeah, you said that the last time.
Yeah.
Amazing, it's not public.
Still owned by the family.
Those kids
Mr.
don't
and
worry
Mrs.
where their
Love
burgers
are
coming from.
Retired in, I think, Arizona or various
Okay.
places.
But I'll guarantee you, from a little bit I know in conversations with you, the thorn in their ass for build outs has been Watertown, right? As
No.
far as overruns and schedules, no?
Oh,
No, we found that they've had some real challenges.
Or other places?
In Louisiana, they actually had a shell of one of their service centers up, my understanding is, and it was so bad that I think it's Greg Love, who's the brother that handles the construction and development,
He walked away.
ordered the building torn down and destroyed. They walked away.
Really?
Yep, he said, we're done. We are out of here. We're not going to deal with this anymore. So
The red tape was so bad? Is that what you
yes. In all honesty, well, unfortunately, DOT was the biggest hangup, or time-wise. But I think they acknowledged that, the local community, the county, Pamelia, everybody stepped up, to help them as much as we possibly could. And once they got the DOT issues solved and got the permit, they were.
Well, I'm kind of not so much referencing the red tape as I am the weather related, they started that.
Listen, these boys are all from the south. And
2 major snowstorms last year,
when they started, we said, welcome to the North Country. Good luck. So, yeah, it's an interesting company, and you're right. I mean, the amount of revenue that they're going to produce is just tremendous. I mean, they threw out sales tax numbers that we all kind of scoffed at and said, can't be, but I think it will be.
Conversation with Bob Kemble at Dry Hill about the zoo, and he made some comment about, well, we could step up to the plate and say fine to everybody if everybody agrees that we can generate 1% more sales tax in the county or whatever. And I looked right at him. I said, you got it. I said, it just happened. I said, it's called Love's Opening. You got it. Go do it.
So we'll see. But
They are gonna do a car wash then in the backside, or
Yes.
no? They are.
well, no, it's a car wash, truck wash.
Truck wash, sorry, truck wash, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they've got the service center out back.
Oh, I thought it was for the tires and stuff, like that's for the service. Where are they gonna put the truck wash? In that building?
I believe it is. I haven't paid too much attention to the details of that service center, but
I know that that's one of the things, because I had a client putting a car wash or truck wash right across the street, because at
Yep.
first they weren't gonna put one in.
yep, they are now. It
And
is.
then they changed it. He's like, well, I'm done, because the house across the street, they want like almost 500,000.
I know.
Prime property.
Yeah, it is.
Do they own the McDonald's and the Godfathers?
No, just franchise.
Good spot.
But they don't own those franchises either. Someone else does.
They're probably leasing them, aren't
They're
they?
leasing them out.
Do you know if it's anyone local?
You know, I don't. I haven't asked.
Oh God, what, I was reading an article, McDonald's goal is to roll out 6,000 more franchises in the US
Yeah, they're gonna go to like 50,000 around
in this year.
Really?
in 1
around the
year.
world.
But in the US, they wanted to roll out 6,000
6,000 more, yeah. I don't know.
My kids want to eat at every single one of them. My daughter would survive on McNuggets if she could. Bill, this is terrible.
Susie and I stopped on the throughways a couple years ago. We needed gas. Well, let's get something real quick. And it was McDonald's there. I ordered like a chicken sandwich. I get it to the table, I open it up. And I looked at her and I said, I'm gonna walk back and say to the girl, no, I wanted the one in the picture.
Yeah.
Morning, Ken.
Good morning.
Morning, Karen.
Morning, Ken. Morning,
We're
Lisa.
back on your page.
Good morning.
Just figured it was gonna be
It's
2 or
time I
3
call the
people.
JCLDC,
I'm
personnel
just here to
committee to
observe.
order.
Just casual today.
I'm just here to-
First, on the agenda is the distribution. If Lau
Is that
will
recorded?
give us some numbers.
Okay, on the pension? Okay. Now, let's see. Let's see if this helps. I've given you a breakout of at the top of the page, the 401k budget for 2023. This is the matching and the discretionary. It's 53,000. We're projecting 30,000, so we have a $22,700 surplus budget to actual. Now, the discretionary budget is the number below that, 17,000, and that is arrived at by taking the salary budget 2 or 3 lines down, 589,000 times a 3% factor. And our projected actual is going to be about 55. So we're actually under budget, comparing the discretionary budget and salary budget of 634,000 minus the 586. It brings us down to 48,000 under. So the numbers are under budget in all of these areas. So if the committee approves, we would request that the $17,683 be allocated to the 401k discretionary disbursement this year.
Okay, any discussion on the distribution of 17,000?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion? Lisa, second?
I'll second it.
Ed? Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. The other thing that was brought up, Dave sent a message about sick leave policy. You want to talk about that, Dave?
Sure, so just suggesting that, right now, the policy, at the beginning of the year, people are allocated 7 days. And nothing suggests that the board consider it felt, if they agreed to make that 14 days, 2 weeks. County policy really is there's the it accrues over per pay period, they're 4.5 hours per pay period, which accounts about 2 weeks each year. So, okay.
You'd like to change that to 10 or 14 days, is what you're proposing?
Yeah.
Any discussion on that?
How well does that align with the counties? The counties,
County,
criteria.
their accrual works out to 14 days per year.
So we're still, even at 10 and 12, we're less than the counties.
Yeah, so right now we do 7. I mean, you can do 14 equal to county or 10 days, but at least we can film.
You want to mention to Kent about reviewing the handbook,
Oh,
how that might play into it?
yeah, I mean, also, I suggest, I mentioned this, we were just talking formally here beforehand, that at that meeting, I was talking to Don Cole, met a gentleman that they use for their employee handbook type stuff, but he, as a standard fee for $390, he'll review your employee handbook, which probably wouldn't hurt to have ours reviewed after it's been several years with changes like sexual harassment policy and stuff like that. We kind of band-aided into it, but maybe we'll have review done for that, so for $400 basically. And then he comes back and he can show you what needs to be changed, which we can either do ourselves, or if it's extensive, he can give us a quote for what, at that point in time, if we want to have him do any revisions.
So any particular, anybody got a motion for you proposing the 14 days, Dave, I guess?
Well, I guess maybe some,
Or-
whatever the board's comfortable with, so.
In light of maybe employee review a little bit, and Dave's recommendation, 10 to 12, I don't have a problem. I'd recommend let's get ourselves to 10 and evaluate it from there down the road, you know.
So you're making a motion for 10 days, Dave?
I will.
Got the motion for 10 days sick leave. Second, Lisa. Any more discussion?
And this is a recommendation just to bring it to the board
So we'll have
again,
the board
right?
in January.
Hearing none, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay, the third thing we got here is that.
And if you're in agreement, I don't think we need a motion for, I mean, it's only $400.
It's just
I'll
going
have
to the
the gentleman,
board, right?
gentleman do the review.
We're just making a motion sent to the board.
No, I mean, as far as having the gentleman do the review.
Okay.
oh, yeah, I'm fine with that.
That's fine.
I'd support it.
Okay, the other thing we got here is, Dave sent a email in regards to an error in his salary. This is something you want to discuss in the open meeting, you want
I'm
to
probably going to executive session.
executive session. Okay, also we have to discuss Dave's evaluation, so we'll do that in executive session too. And that should take care of that. So can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Recording stopped.
We'll have Dave stay and explain the salary thing first, and Dave can leave after that.